So we've been talking a lot about, cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, BSV, Zcoin, XPEC. Let's talk about Ethereum. So my question is, will Ethereum scale or will it be a bust in 3 years? Which platform coin will emerge, or will there be some sort of cross-chain usability and interoperability?
Well, you won't believe this, Kate, but that's very similar to what I've written down on question 4 for me. I've written, do you believe scaling will actually happen on Ethereum? So it's almost the same question, I guess. So we can, we can talk about this. Scaling is a key topic for decentralized blockchain networks to solve, really, if they want to become a viable alternative to the financial system. So scaling, for people that don't know what we're talking about, it's not about getting your teeth done and hygienist cleaning the stuff off the inside of your mouth.
Yeah.
What it is solving the throughput problem that decentralized blockchains have, in terms of they can't fit many transactions into a single block. They can't handle many transactions per second. And people then logically and fairly say that therefore it can't be an alternative to the financial system. You can't onboard all the people that you need. So scaling, there are lots of different ways that people have approached this and tried to solve it. On-chain solutions, which is having improving the tech, the core technology that it's running on the blockchain network itself, and off-chain solutions, which are trying to come up with different ways to basically have more transactions that are settled off-chain, and then having a hash function represent all of those transactions on-chain to reduce the size. And then you've got interesting solutions like, let's say, there's some great guys, Radix DLT. They are a London-based blockchain product. Well, I would say they're distributed ledger technology rather than blockchain, in the sense that they started with a pre-sharded database, essentially. Pre-sharded means a database that is split up into different pieces. And this is what, going back to Ethereum, sharding is a way for the Ethereum network to approach scaling. And then you've got other solutions like Silica that are trying to do scaling on the Ethereum network. So will it actually happen? Well, I was involved in a project last year, and I saw like a team of very talented developers trying to overcome this very problem. And honestly, it's quite difficult. Some of the things that people try to do is to set up a DAG structure, which allows like many blocks to be published simultaneously. But then you have the issue of maintaining consensus, because some of these blocks might have transactions and not in the same order as different blocks. And so how do you maintain transactions and prevent double spends in that type of a system? And the other alternative to scaling is just to have a private network, which is kind of not really the point of blockchain. So do I think it's going to happen by this time next year, or
3 years? 3 years.
Oh, that's more difficult. I think this time next year, no. 3 years, possibly. But 5 years, if it hasn't been done in 3 years, I don't think it will be done in 10 years either. Not unless like all of the internet pipes are massively expanded so we can get more data down them. Because when you've got a decentralized system, it relies on all of the nodes having like equally strong connections to each other. And honestly, it's a difficult problem that I don't think it's going to be overcome anytime soon. So that's why you've got people like Hashgraph. You've got Hashgraph with its trusted nodes and validators. You've got Facebook Coin with its trusted nodes, and they're saying that they can have like 1,000 transactions per second, which is completely fine when you've got like a series of trusted nodes with massive computational power. Fine, you can do that. But when you're talking about like Bitcoin itself, it can't really scale right now without some massive changes being required. And that's one of the things Bitcoin Cash and BSV are trying to do, is like increase the block size as a way to scale, which is a different way of looking at it as well. Well, Ethereum, to go back to your question, don't know. A lot of people are trying, and limited progress so far, right? So tough one. What do you think, man?
Yeah, well, I think something will scale. but I'm not sure if it's going to be Ethereum. The one thing is now is Ethereum's a project that's already up and running. So to kind of fix all these problems while it's still working, is a lot more difficult than just completely starting over with something new. So I think that's the issue that Ethereum has is that they've already got a network up and running and they have to do these upgrades on the fly. So it's kind of some people give the analogy of, it's trying to fix an engine while it's running versus like, building a new engine from scratch. So I think Ethereum is really not my favorite to solve the scaling issue, but I think someone will solve the scaling issue. And maybe I'll just give a little analogy. I think back to the internet. And for those of you who are a little bit older, you remember dial up. You'd click on a page, you'd click on a picture. It would take 5 minutes to see a picture of, whatever, your favorite cat or something. And the internet scaled pretty easily. I don't think decentralized will ever be as fast as some sort of centralized network, but I think it will be able to scale. I just don't know which platform it's going to be or when it's going to happen. But I think it's going to happen. I would say it will happen in 3 years, but I don't think it's going to be Ethereum.
Yeah, okay. That's a fair assessment. I don't think it would be Ethereum, and if it's in 3 years, and if it's not Ethereum in 3 years, I don't think Ethereum can overcome it really.
HODL Moon!